There is basically three ways to add CSS to your HTML web page, and then the first one is through what we call inline CSS. And with inline CSS, you just basically need to use an attribute called a style to be able to add that, just like what you're seeing on the screen right now. And if you add the attribute, you can go ahead and then write your style within that particular attribute in quotes. And then once you refresh your web page, you should be able to see the result out there. And then the second way to actually do that is through what we call internal CSS. Okay, and to do that, this one has to be done within the head region or the head section of your website, where you have to use a tag that is actually called a style. Just within this particular tag, you can actually write your CSS style within that particular place, and once you save and then refresh your web page, you should be able to see the results live on your web page. And then the last one is actually called external CSS, where you have to create a separate file for your CSS. Okay, you can use things like style.css for whatever file name you want to use, but just make sure that this is going to be an external file. It does not have to show up within the HTML code that you're actually currently writing. So it has to come from a different file. All you need to do is to make sure that you link the two web pages together. Okay, so now you have a separate file called a style.css, and then you have a HTML file. You need to just link them together, and you are going to use this particular line of code to actually link them together. Okay, so the link is displayed on the screen right here. You can just link that, and whatever style that you type on that particular external file, if you save it and refresh your web page, that particular style is actually going to come in. Okay, so that's just what that is. So without wasting more time, I want to demonstrate how these things are actually done in real within our HTML file right now, which is inline CSS, internal CSS, and external CSS. So let's do that in my computer right away. So to demonstrate all of these things that we have just done right now, we are going to start off with the inline CSS, which is the first one that we talked about. And before we actually do that, we need to just bring in our HTML boilerplate, which I'm going to just paste right now. And we have actually done this before now, so you should know how to do this. Okay, so what I want to do is to go ahead and save this particular file right now, and I want to save it to the folder that we've been working on, right? So if we go to save as right there, and then we'll go to this particular folder called the HTML and CSS, and I just created a new folder for this, which I basically call the HTML CSS. If you open that up, that is nothing inside, so we can save this particular file inside of this place. We could call this something like index.html, and you can go ahead and then click on save, and that particular file will be saved right now. So if we check that particular folder right now, we see that we have that file in there, but we have nothing inside of it. Okay, we don't even have something like a title. So let's start off with adding the title right now. And to add a title to a HTML document, you do that within a tag called the title tags. So this is going to be called a title. And within this place, we just say something like 3 ways to add CSS style to your HTML web page. Okay, so let's go ahead and then close the title tag right there. And if we save this right now and then check that on the browser, we should be able to see the title come up. So you see that the title is right there. All right, so the next thing I want to do right now is to experiment with the inline CSS, which we're going to basically do right here. So I want to do that using something like H1, and I basically want to change the color of the text in there. So I'm going to just say something like inline CSS demonstration, and let's go ahead and close the H1 tag right there. And if we save this, let's check that on the browser. You see that the default color is actually black. Okay, so we want to see how we can actually affect the CSS change on that. And this is inline CSS. So just like we said that you need to add the attribute called a style within the tags, okay, or the elements. Okay, so we're going to do that right now. I'm going to just say style. I'm going to set that to color, and then the color that I want it to be right now is going to be something like, let's say this is going to be yellow. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and if we go back to the browser right now and then we'll refresh, and then notice that we'll now have that particular line changed to yellow. So that's just basically how to demonstrate that, which is actually based on the inline CSS. Okay, so that will basically give you this that you are seeing on the screen right now. All right, so the next one we want to take a look at is actually going to be the internal CSS, which I'm going to just basically copy this line right now. So I want to copy this particular H1 and then paste it on the next line, guys. Sorry about that. So just basically want to paste it down here. I want to change this from I want to take this away, and also change that to something like H2. So instead of having something like H1 right there, we just want to differentiate that. And this is going to be internal CSS, guys. So change this to internal CSS demonstration. So this is what it is right now. If we save this and then check that up on the browser, we're going to see that we have that black right there, which is the default. So we won't affect the change right now. And remember that when we talked about the internal CSS, we talked about the fact that we're going to actually have something that is actually called a style tag within our head region right here. So just make sure that it's within your head region. So we can just do something like style right here, and you can close the style down here, and then within this particular place we need to start writing the style that we want. Okay, so first of all, this is actually H2, and that's going to actually be a selector, okay, that we're going to actually use. So when you are using something like style tags to actually write your internal CSS, you're going to need something that is actually called a selector, and that selector based on this particular one is actually H2 right there. Okay, so if we were working for that of the H1, we could have used something like H1 right here, but we're working on that of the H2 right now. We just want to affect the inline CSS right there. I mean, the internal CSS. So within this curly bracket right now, what I want to do, sorry about that, I just want to separate this curly bracket right here. All right, so within this curly bracket right now, what we want to do is just basically change the color of the text that is in there. Okay, so to do that is actually very simple. So I'm going to just say color, and let's say that the color we're going to give this one right now is going to be just something like gray. Okay, so if we save this right now and we check the browser right now, we should basically be able to see the color of the text on this particular line, internal CSS demonstration, change to gray. So let's go in here, then refresh, and you see that that color actually changes to gray. Okay, so that's just how to do that. And the last one that we want to do right now is going to be the external CSS. So what I want to do is to copy this line. I hope that you are enjoying our content, and if that is actually true, that is just one thing that I want you to do for me right now. If you're watching this particular video on YouTube right now, that is a red subscribe button right there that you can actually click on to subscribe to us if you have not subscribed before. And there is also a like and share button down there that you can actually click, and these things, they don't actually take a long time to actually accomplish. And if you are watching us on Facebook, X, or Instagram, there is also a follow button, there is a like button, and a share button that you can actually click right now to help us turn on the algorithm for this particular video. I hope you're enjoying our videos. A lot more are going to actually come your way, and make sure that you are subscribed and then following our page so that you don't miss out on any great videos of this nature. We're bringing you quite a lot of things in the future. Thanks for subscribing and then following us. I paste it on the next line, and I want to change this from H2 right here to H3 just to make sure that we're able to differentiate all of these tags that we have in here. So instead of calling this internal CSS, we're going to call that external CSS demonstration. And remember that the way that this one is actually done is that we need to create an external file for it and then link to it. And to do that is really very simple. I'm going to click on new file right here. I'm going to just go ahead and save that particular file to the folder that we are just working on right now, which is the HTML folder, and I'm going to just basically call that style.css. and remember that the extension right here is .css, and what that means is that we are strictly going to be writing CSS code within this particular file. Okay, so remember the name, this is style.css. I want to save that right now, and let's say for instance basically the tag that we're working on right now is history. Okay, so we need to reference to that. That's the selector. We're going to select that and then throw in our curly bracket in that right there, and we're going to just say color, and the color that we want to use for this one can be something like red. Let's say that is actually going to be red, and you have that saved right now. However, if we go to our browser right now and I will try to refresh, you're going to notice that that color is actually not going to come in, and the reason for that is because we have no relationship between these two files right here. So we need to make sure that we're able to link the style.css to that of the index. And to do that, we need to do that within the head region. Okay, so make sure that you are within this place. You can put it at the top here or even at the bottom. So to link the two files together, we're going to use this line of code. So this is going to be link rel, and within this place, we're going to just say style sheet right there. And after that, we're going to kind of tell the script where that particular file is actually located with href attribute, and it was actually located in style.css. so this is going to be CSS. Okay, and they are all in the same folder, guys. So this particular line should be able to bring in this particular file into this place, and then with that, we're going to the effect of this actually showing up will be shown to us in the browser. So if we go back in here and then refresh, then I'll see that the text in here is now red. So we've basically linked the two files together. Okay, so that is just what it is. We need to just basically make sure that we'll include this particular file, and if we include that, we'll go to our CSS and then write our style, and also go back to our browser, and then we'll refresh. You see that that particular file or style is actually going to come in. And that is just the three ways to basically add CSS style to your HTML web page. So you can also use this method to change color, change background, do whatever type of styling that you want to. Okay, but we have not actually gotten into full-blown CSS, but as time goes on, we're going to get into that. But this is just it. This is the three ways to actually add a CSS style to your web application. And quite a good number of you may be asking which one is actually the best way to do that. I can only say at this moment that all of them are actually good, but in reality, the inline CSS is actually faster in response within your web page than that of the internal CSS, and in turn, the internal CSS is also faster than that of the external CSS. But in reality, if you are writing bigger applications, you're going to have to be using the external CSS, okay? Because it works in such a way that you can write just your style in just one page like this, and then to go all around and effect all the changes to all of the elements that you're actually selecting. Okay, so unlike if you are using the inline CSS or the internal CSS, you need to like visit all of these tags one by one and then give styling to all of them. Okay, so that is just that. So you just need to put that at the back of your mind. And thanks for watching, and then I'll see you in the next one. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and drop that in the comment section. And if you like the video, just give us a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.